Now this is the solutions to the second linear relations revision sheet that was handed out in class, and firstly we deal with the multiple choice questions. First one, we're presented with a graph like so, and we're told it passes through at -2 and it also passes through at 1. And then it's asking you to find the gradient of a line that is perpendicular to the line shown. So when we're looking for a perpendicular line, there's a relationship that tells you that M2 is equal to -1 over M1, where M2 is the gradient of the perpendicular line. So that's the equation that we need to use. From this particular question, we can work out that M1 is equal to rise over run, which it goes up 1, it goes across 2 here, so it goes across 2 and it goes up 1, so our rise over run is 1 over 2. Therefore, M2 equals -1 divided by M1, which equals -1 divided by 1/2. And if you remember, when we're dividing by a fraction, that we flip the second one upside down and we turn it into a times. So this tells us that, I'm just going to squeeze it up into there for space, M2 is equal to -1 times by 2, which will be equal to -2. The question was only asking you to find out what is the gradient of the line which is perpendicular, and that's what we've done, that's the answer. The second equation would have a gradient of -2. Second question, we're presented with a graph passes through at -4 and it passes through x at 3. So, and it says what is the equation for this particular graph. So firstly what we would need to do is work out a gradient. M is equal to rise over run. In this case here, the rise, it goes up 4 and it goes across 3. So rise is 4 over a run of 3. So that's the gradient component of it. And we also know that our y-intercept is -4. So our equation, y equals mx plus c. We know everything we need to know pretty much. So y will equal, the gradient is 4/3 of x, and our y-intercept is -4. So that's our equation. The next question, we're asked to find the equation for a straight line which has a gradient of -3 and passes through the point 2,7. So I'm just going to start off with y is equal to mx plus c. We know that m is equal to -3, so y equals -3x plus c. Then what we need to do is we'll get this point and substitute x and y into there. So 7 will be equal to -3 by 2 plus c, or 7 is equal to -6 plus c. What we're going to do is we'll add 6 to both sides to rearrange this. That cancels that down. We'll be left with c is equal to 13. So therefore, y will be equal to -3x plus 13. And that's that question. Next question it's asking us to find the equation of a straight line which passes through 2 points. The 2 points are -5 and -4 and 3 and 12. Now first thing we'll need to do with this is to find the gradient. So m equals y2 take y1 over x2 take x1. So we have to identify which is y2 and y1, x2 and x1. If I look at the two x values firstly, we've got an x value of -5 and we have an x value of 3. The smallest or most negative of those is -5. So I'm going to label that one as x1. The other one becomes x2. Now, these are pairs of coordinates, so y1 goes with x1 and y2 goes with x2. So now what we can do is we take this equation and we substitute the values in from our coordinates. So y2 minus y1 will be 12, take away -4, divided by 3, take away -5, which that will equal. So 12, that take away in the negative, that there becomes a plus, and the same happens on the bottom, take away negative becomes a plus. So 12 plus 4 is 16 over 3 plus 5 is 8, which will equal 2. So we now know that the gradient is equal to 2. So what we can do now is we get our equation, general rule, y equals mx plus c. We've just found out the gradient, so y equals 2x plus c. And I now pick one of the two sets of coordinates and substitute the values in. So what I think I might do is I'll use this one here and we'll substitute those values in for x and y. So 12 is equal to 2 by 3 plus c, or 12 is equal to 6 plus c. Now what I'll do is I'll take away 6 from both sides. 12 take away 6 is 6 equals, those two cancel down, so 6 is equal to c. That now tells us that we have our m value, we have our c value, so our equation is y is equal to 2x plus 6. Now for this next question, we're told that the line y equals -3x plus 10 passes through the point 2D. Now we need to find out what d is equal to. This is just a matter of getting our x coordinate 2 and substituting it into our equation. So our equation y is equal to -3, x is equal to 2 plus 10, which will be equal to -3 times 2 is -6 plus 10, which will equal 4. So that tells us that d is equal to 4. That's all you have to do with that one. This next question is asking us to find the gradient of the line passing through points 5, 8 and 7, -16. So what we need to do is use our gradient rule, where m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We need to identify x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to look at my two x values. We've got a 5 here and a 7 here. So the smallest of those, or the most negative, is 5. So I'm going to call that one x1. And y1 lives with that. Then our other x value becomes x2. And y2 lives with that one. So now what we need to do is get those points and substitute them into the equation. So the gradient is equal to y2, which is -16, take away y1, which is 8, over x2 is 7, take away x1 is 5. -16 take away 8 is -24. 7 take away 5 is 2. So this will give us a gradient of negative 12. And that's all you need to do with this one, because that's the gradient. Now for the next question, we're told that a line has a gradient of 3p. And then it says the gradient of a line parallel to this one is, well, if you have any lines which are parallel to each other, they all have the same gradient. So the answer to this one is 3p. The family of lines here all have the same gradient. So if our first one has a gradient of 3p, then any other lines that are parallel to it will also have a gradient of 3p. That's all you need to do with that. Now this next question, the linear equation that passes through the point negative 2, 3, and it is perpendicular to the equation y equals 4x plus 1 is, first thing we need to do is we use the gradient of the first one to work out the gradient of the second one. Our relationship that we have is m2 equals negative 1 over m1. In our case, m1 is equal to 4, so m2 will be equal to negative 1 over 4. So that's now told us the gradient that we need to be dealing with. So now to work out the equation, we have y equals mx plus c. We've been told, well, we now know that m is equal to negative a quarter, so y equals negative 1/4 x plus c. We then get these coordinates and shove them into there. So substitution of y equals 3 equals negative a quarter of negative 2, which is our x value, plus c, or 3 is equal to negative a quarter of 2 is equal to a half, plus c. And now we need to take away a half from both sides, so we have 3 minus a half is 2.5. Or that's equal to 5 over 2 as an improper fraction. Okay, so now we have our equation. Y is equal to m is negative 1/4, x and c is equal to 5 over 2, so we plus 5 over 2. And that's what we're looking for. Next question, if two lines 6x take y plus 5 equals 0 and ax plus 2y take 7 equals 0 are parallel, then find a. Now the clue to this one here is they are parallel. If they're parallel, then the gradient must be the same. So what I'm going to do is rearrange both these equations and put them into y equals mx plus c form. So the first one, we have 6x minus y plus 5 equals 0. I'm going to cheat with this one. I'm just going to add y to both sides. It's not really cheating, it's just being clever. So cancel that down. So we now end up with 6x plus 5 is equal to y. Doesn't matter if y is at the end or at the start. This is now in y equals mx plus c format, so we can tell that our gradient is equal to 6. So for the second equation, we now need to see how that's going to work. So we have ax plus 2y minus 7 equals 0. Now I'll add 7 to both sides, so we have ax plus 2y is equal to 7. Now I'll subtract ax from both sides. 2y is equal to negative ax plus 7. And then I want to divide everything by 2, which will give us y is equal to negative a over 2x plus 7 over 2. Now that should be an A and not an I. So now what we need to do is compare the gradient from this one with this one. So we have negative A over 2 is equal to 6. Multiply both sides of that by 2. Negative A will be equal to 12. Now we multiply both sides by negative 1, which will give us A is equal to negative 12. And that's what we're looking for there. This next question, we're asked to determine the length of a line segment connecting 2 points. The equation that we need to use for this one, D, is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Now basically what this is doing is it's taking our rise over run components of a right angle triangle that might make up the gradient and applying it to Pythagoras theorem. So we need to identify which is x1, y1, x2, y2. So the smallest of the two x values is x1, which is 2. The other one, 6, is x2. y1 lives with x1, y2 lives with x2. So what we now do is substitute those into our equation. So we have x2, 6 take away x1 is 2 squared plus y2 is 6 take away y1 is 3 squared equals the square root of 4 squared plus 3 squared, which is equal to the square root of 16 plus 9 equals the square root of 25, which equals 5. And that's your answer there. Next question, we have 2 points A and B, and we're asked to find the equation of the line that is perpendicular to the line segment AB and that also passes through B. So the first thing we need to do is to find the gradient of AB. So the gradient of AB, M of AB, will be equal to y2 take y1 over x2 take x1. Now we need to identify x1 and x2, so we have x1, y1, x2 and y2. Started off by looking for the most negative of the two x values, which is negative 3. y1 lives with x1 and then the other coordinates are x2 and y2. So we substitute those in. y2 is 15, take away y1 is 0 over x2 is 0, take away x1 is negative 3. That should be a 3, yep. So that equals 15 over 3, which is equal to 5. Next, what we need to do is to work out M2, so the gradient of the equation we're looking for. M2 equals negative 1 over MAB, which equals negative 1 over 5. So that gradient there, we just worked out, is going to be the gradient of our new equation. So our new equation, y equals mx plus c. We've just worked out the gradient. So y is equal to negative 1/5 x plus c. Now we need to pick out point B. It says it passes through B, so we use point B as the coordinates that it passes through. So when x is equal to 0, y is equal to 15. So we can substitute those values in, or if you know the other way of doing it, by just incorporating our y-intercept, you can do that. I'll substitute the values in. So y is equal to 15 when x is equal to 0. That should be 5 there. Now, 1/5 of zeros is going to be 0, so we don't need to worry about that. So that tells us that c is equal to 15. So therefore, our equation y is equal to negative 1/5 of x plus 15. And that's what we're looking for. Now this next question, we're looking at midpoints. So firstly, the two rules that we have for midpoints, the x midpoint is found basically by averaging the two x coordinates. So we go x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Similarly, the y midpoint is found by averaging the two y coordinates, y1 plus y2 over 2. So what we're going to do is we're told the midpoint and we're told some coordinates to match. We're just going to substitute them into this equation. So for the first one, for x, we're told that the x midpoint is 6, so 6 will be equal to, now we get the two other x values, negative 4 and x, and add them together, so negative 4 plus x divided by 2. Now I want to times both sides by 2, and that one there as well, so that goes with that, cancels down. So we have 12 equals negative 4 plus x, and then we want to add 4 to both sides. That will cancel that, which leaves us with x equals 16. And we'll do the same thing with our y coordinates. So we're told the y midpoint is 3. So 3 is equal to y plus negative 6 over 2. Now we'll multiply both sides by 2 to cancel that fraction down. So 6 will be equal to y plus negative 6, or take away 6. And then we'll add 6 to both sides. That will cancel that one down. Tells us that 12 is equal to y. Now the question was asking us to find out the value of x plus y. So in our case, the value of x plus y is equal to 16 plus 12, which equals 28. That's the answer to this question. Now, the next question that we have, the cost of hiring a truck is represented by C is equal to 2.5x plus 45, where x is the kilometres travelled and C is the cost in dollars. If the cost was $450, find the distance travelled. So what we need to do is get our equation. C equals 2.5x plus 45. Substitute in the cost. 450 is equal to 2.5x plus 45. Now we need to solve this for x. So I'm going to start by taking away 45 from both sides. That'll cancel that down. Leaves us with 405 is equal to 2.5x. The next thing that we need to do is to divide this by 2.5. Divide that by 2.5. That cancels that down. That will leave us with x is equal to, throw that into the calculator. X is equal to 162. So our answer is 162 kilometres. Now, next question. Towns A and B are 185 kilometres apart. If a bus takes 2 hours to travel the first 85 kilometres, how long must the bus take to travel the final 100 kilometres if the average speed of the bus is to be 50 kilometres an hour? Now, in order to deal with this, we need to look at finding the total time. Well, we have the equation, the total time is equal to the total distance write that properly there, divided by the average speed. Now we know the total distance is 185 and we need the average speed to be 50. So if we go 185 divided by 50, that gives us 3.7 hours. So that's going to be the total time. So the time for the final 100 kilometres will be equal to 3.7 hours, take away the 2 hours it took for the first 85, which gives us 1.7 hours, which if we break that up into minutes, 1 hour is 60 minutes, plus 0.7 of an hour is 42 minutes. So that gives us a grand total of 102 minutes. So that's how long in minutes it would take for the last 100 kilometres in order to give us an average speed of 50 kilometres an hour. Now this is the last question in the multiple choice section. The tangent of the angle between the line with equation 3y equals 5 minus 4x and the positive direction of the x-axis is, the rule we have here is that m, or the gradient, is equal to tan theta. So the tangent that it's asking for is just tan theta, which is just m. So what we need to do is to get our equation and rearrange it so that we can find out what the gradient is. So we have 3y equals 5 minus 4x, or I'll write it as minus 4x plus 5. And now I'm going to divide everything by 3. And that'll cancel that down, which leaves us with y is equal to negative 4/3 of x plus 5/3. And our gradient is negative 4/3. So m equals tan theta is equal to negative 4/3. And that's what we're looking for. There you go.